left to right. Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
What is up, everybody? It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad. The 76ers defeated the Charlotte Hornets 100-87. We're going to react to it. Joining us tonight, we got Brian Jacobs. Follow him on Twitter at Brian Mike Jacobs. What's up, Brian?
What's going on, buddy? It was a big win tonight. We needed that one, and the Hornets, they just didn't bring their A game, and it was a good performance by the Sixers, and we were talking a lot before the pod started about how that ball movement, man. I mean, they look good. They look really good, and without Embiid, you got Al Horford, who's brought here to do that. And I was saying before the pod started as well that the Hornets announcers made a comment, something along the lines of, "Well, they're not with their all-star center, but they got another one." So
I heard that. Yeah, it's tip off.
Clearly talking about Norvel Pell there.
They were.
Also joining us today, we have Austin. Follow him on Twitter at KrellTPL. He runs the Feed to Embiid pod. He recently just had Jessica Town on that pod. How you doing, Austin?
I actually disagree with Brian. I think they did bring their A game. That was the problem. That was the A game, which is I think is worrisome for all involved. But no, thank you for having me on. I'm doing well.
That was hands down one of the best Sixers preseason games from like 1 through 7 rotation players I have seen in a long time. When you're talking about James Ennis, Matisse, all these guys, that was so impressive. My top takeaway, dude, I got to start because I'm Blue Root at heart. I got to say, Matisse Thybulle is way better than I ever imagined. At one point, in 3 minutes, in his first 3 minutes, he had 3 steals and a block. He was a plus 48 in his first 6 quarters of preseason basketball. This guy is ready to play. This guy is a major rotation player. Zaire Smith be damned. I don't know what that means. I think we're going to see him a lot with the Delaware Blue Coats this year. Good for us, right? So I think we're going to see the Ben Simmons alley-oops to Zaire Smith put on hold. That's my first takeaway. Brian, give me a takeaway of tonight's game.
I don't know if it was the first 3 possessions that he was in the game or if it was maybe the first 5, but the stat sheet didn't show, but he had 3 steals like right away. And I just went on Twitter and I joked about it. I was like, it's almost like his bit at this point. Like he just comes in and just all of a sudden gathers up steal after steal. But now what did he score? 1 point tonight, and it was a very impactful performance. He doesn't need to score. And last party on Broad that we did, I mentioned the fact that he's like Andre Roberson with a more polished offensive game, to the point where you don't need him doing anything on offense. He doesn't hurt you on offense because teams are going to need to respect the shot. But no, I mean, he's and you brought up Zaire, so I'll say it. Zaire is a project. He's still got a lot to go, and he's got to spend some time in Delaware. But man, that they said that was going to be a competition. There's no competition. It's not even close. Tybulle's possibly the 6th, 7th man in the rotation. It's pretty crazy, and it's not a bad problem to have.
We saw James Ennis and Matisse Thybulle first off the bench again tonight. I'm just so impressed because Matisse is not only impacting the game defensively from 3. Dude, he moves the ball. This was the best ball movement I've seen in a preseason game in a long time. Austin, what's one of your takeaways from tonight's game, man?
Yeah, so one thing that I wanted to see was just like how any combination of Richardson, Matisse, I thought that Zaire would be getting more playing time before these 2 games, and now I'm kind of thinking that, I mean, I think that he is I think Brian put it nicely. He's certainly a project. When that project's due, I don't know. But I wanted to just see how they would strategically defend the likes of Terry Rozier, a guard who's given them issues in the past, smaller, more athletic, quicker. And I wanted to see who in between Josh and and Trey and Raul or Howell, whatever his name is, who could actually play and like be like you could like give them minutes at the backup point guard spot. And I left that game not really thinking that you can give him to either Burke or Neto.
Yeah, when you think of like the 9-10 man rotation for the Sixers, you have Toby, you have Horford, you have Ben, you have Richardson, you have Scott, James Ennis, and Deibs. So who's missing there? So clearly you have a backup point guard spot. One of the bright spots tonight, you saw that JRich alley-oop. I forget who it was to, but that was a nice little point guard sign from Josh Richardson. One of my other takeaways from this game was Al Horford. Dude, this guy, I compared him on the Blue Route to Terrell Owens because he is so freaking good. He's so smart. He's so instinctual on defense. He boxes out. He hits jumpers. The Sixers haven't had a power forward like Al Horford in a long, long time. He just made so many smart plays in this game from rotations, just all across the board. Al Horford, man, I hate to say it. I hated him with the Boston Celtics. This guy is so, so good. Any takes on Al Horford tonight, man? Go ahead, Brian.
So we know what happened in the offseason, how we at TPL had we got a lot of things right, and then one of the things that we got right was Al Horford, and I remember so much. I mean, you have nothing. You have nothing. Yeah, you have nothing to feel bad about with not liking him in Boston. I mean, Boston's the rival. I get that, but like that dude.
He's so good.
Once he's on your team, you kind of see. You know what I mean? Now you see what he's doing. Like, and that's exactly. And the value that you're going to get out of him is when what's his face when Embiid's not playing. I mean, and obviously when he is playing, you're going to see what he can do as well. But you have a point guard who's 6'10". You have a power forward center who is like a point center with Al Horford. You got Kyle O'Quinn, who made an amazing entry pass. You got Richardson, who can play point. You got Embiid, who wants to be a point guard, and he's not. You have Toby, who can play point. I mean, you have so many players. Shake, Shayok can handle the ball a little bit. Zaire, I don't want to see ever handle the ball. Tyler can actually do it, a little dribble drive action. Ennis, he's not bad. I mean, you got a lot of guys that can share the ball, and Brett Brown. This is the culture that he wanted to build. Good to great. I mean, and Spursian, pass the ball, get a shot.
That's my biggest takeaway from this game was, dude, like when you watch the Sixers play in this preseason game, you think about the loss of Jimmy Butler, and then you think about the additions of JRich and Al Horford, these two super ultra efficient players. And when I see Al Horford, I see a guy with great hands in the paint that can catch the ball in traffic.
Todd McCullough, like.
Tom McCullough, I love the way he boxes out. This guy's defensive acumen is just on a different level than we're used to seeing. And it's just the ball movement. That was not one of the things that I had expected this early on. Austin, any other takeaways or reaction to Al Horford, man?
Yeah, he led the game off with a three that was like really wide open. And I guess you can attribute part of that to the Hornets playing having a god awful perimeter defensive game, because the Sixers were getting like all kinds of wide open looks tonight. It was like I was watching process Sixers play defense. It was crazy, but I feel like Al is gonna have a chance to sort of have a fly under the radar, really efficient season, because he's had space in these two games that I don't think he's ever had before in terms of the jump shot looks that he was getting. I'm sure part of that has to do with like there's obviously a differential in court vision of Ben and Kyrie and Jeff Teague in Atlanta, but if I think Ben Simmons is going to afford Al Horford an opportunity to have a really, really, really efficient season.
Ben Simmons had a really good night. He finished with 15 points. He was a plus 23. He had 3 assists in 9 minutes in that first quarter, but he had that awesome chase down block on Terry Rozier. He also had a pull-up jump shot, which was, always very good to see. What was your take on Ben Simmons tonight, Brian?
He looked like he was having fun, and it goes along with what he said in the offseason. I don't remember who it was to, but how he fell back in love with the game. I mean, he looks like he's having fun out there, and it's the mesh of guys around him. I think that has a lot to do with it. There's guys that are allowing him to play his game. He didn't have that last year, and we know why. He's going to be a problem this year.
Jimmy? Who?
Could have been somebody like that, but no, we know what we have in him here, but I don't think the rest of the NBA does. I think that they know that we have an all-star young Australian guy who plays point guard, but it looks like a power forward. But no, dude, this kid he's different. And I was messaging somebody during the game how that one spin cycle move that he had to like a swooping lay-in. Yeah. I was like, that's Dr. J. Like,
yeah, he held the ball
Dr. J right there. And that's like a cliche thing to say in Philly, but like, I mean, he just looks comfortable. He's having fun, and that's all you want from him, because why is he not shooting? He's not comfortable. You just want him to be comfortable, and if he's comfortable, then I'm comfortable. So are the people who pull for the team.
Oh, go ahead, Austin.
I actually, well, 3-2. Can I say?
4-1. I'm sorry.
What happened in Lambeau 2 weeks ago? So what I would say is, and I think Brian makes a good point. Like, people don't really know. I don't know if it's that they don't know, or it's that they're afraid to admit that maybe the Sixers got it right with Ben Simmons and Embiid. Because, I mean, you can talk about the jump shot all you want. You can't deny stats, especially if those same stats would look good on a player that you actually liked. So I think Ben is playing as if the chain and ball on his ankle are gone. He looks like he's just free and loose and really happy to be there. And I kind of think that we're going to see his jump shot rates vary throughout the season, because I think he's going to shoot more if he feels like the defense is making it hard for him to drive, and then once they play up on him, if he takes and makes jumpers, then he'll go back to driving. So it'll almost be like a run-pass game in the NFL, but for like Ben Simmons driving and shooting.
So this is the second Sixers preseason game of 2019, and to wrap it up, I have to ask you guys, this is the best ball movement I've seen in a Brett Brown offense in the preseason. Is this the best Sixers team you've ever seen? Go ahead, Brian.
That I've ever seen. So, I mean, I was born in 1988. I didn't get to see, obviously, any of the mid-'80s Sixers. Grew up, Dana Barros. When I first started watching the Sixers, like I do now, Dana Barros was their best scorer. Iverson was always the guy, and he never had the supporting cast around him to really put them over the top, because they couldn't do that with him. So now we're in 2001, go to 2007-ish, 8-ish, when we got Weber. It was a collection of players. Then you go. I'm saying, then when you go, then we got Evan Turner, and then then the process started. This is by far the best team that they've had since I could remember. And you could say that stats don't lie. They went to the finals in 2001. They haven't done that yet. So you can say, like, they're not there. They're not that until they're there again. But like that team, Tyrone Hill is the starting power forward in the final.
That's Fugazi. Who cares?
You can make an argument. Superstars win. Is Iverson a better talent, respective to the competition around him, than anybody that the Sixers have now? I mean, that's important. That's an important argument to make, but because that's the takeover factor in the playoffs. But overall talent, it's not even close. Not even close.
It's amazing. Go ahead, Austin.
Well, first, I thought Brian was born in like 1941, so I thought he'd been around for a while. Yeah, I mean, I started watching in 2008, and they went 41-41 that year, then 27-55, and then it was like a slowly progressing ladder upwards, and then they tanked, and then that was what it was. So this is by far the best team that I've seen from the Sixers. And, is it the best team that I've been alive for? I couldn't tell you, but I would assume so, yes.
All right. So that is Austin. Go ahead, man.
No, hold on. Nothing about you. I'm not saying, I'm not arguing with anything you said. I'm just thinking to myself, what is, if this is the best, what's the second best?
Last year's team.
Because, obviously you want to say 0-1, but, then I think back on that run that we had against the Bulls and the Celtics. I mean, on paper,
Ooh.
You got Lou Will, you got Drew Holiday, knowing what we know now. Drew Holiday, you got Thad Young, you had Elton Brand, you had Kevin Turner, you had who else did you have?
Spencer Hall.
You had Hollis, you had Lavoy Allen, Nikola Vucevic, Iguodala.
Thanks for the Temple reference, man. Appreciate that. Novosad.
There you go.
Wow. No, it's a 1 probably second, and then third is probably that team. But no, to answer your question, it's this year's.
Well, I think you make an interesting point because of how far they went. But I think you have to take into account the fact that the game has changed so much since that point. So it was defense ruled the day. That Sixers team now, I would think, is probably a 42-win team.
Not even.
They're maybe the Heat, but
Tyrone Hill playing power forward is hilarious. Dikembe Mutombo and Iverson is a damn good duo, but I watched a replay of one of the finals games on YouTube a couple months ago, and watching Raja Bell and Rodney Buford come off the bench just scrapping, Matt Geiger just clunking around, it was pretty hilarious looking. And I was just because in perspective to how the NBA has changed so much, you're absolutely right. McKee was definitely he'd be able to coexist today because of the 3-and-D game. Eric Snow, it would be possibly the worst point guard in the NBA. He was great for us then, but he could. I was watching him. I'm like, this dude can't shoot. What is he doing in the league? And I'm like, oh, it's 2001.
I have one more point. Before you wrap this up. Call me crazy. Am I crazy or am I somewhat sane? We saw in the first game of the preseason, we saw all offseason that the Sixers are harping defense, all training camp. And then we saw in the first game where Joel Embiid had that Ben Wallace haircut. And tonight we saw Rasheed Wallace sitting on the bench with a Sixers cap. Are the Sixers replicating that Detroit Pistons early 2000s defensive squad? Am I crazy or am I sane?
I think there's a very good chance that in the next game you may see Josh Richardson wearing a face mask. It's like Rip Hamilton.
The Rip Hamilton face mask?
Hey man, remember his two dribbles and then his outside dribble on his foul shots?
Oh, it was the greatest thing.
Listen.
I used to do that.
Oh my God.
Tayshaun Prince is Matisse Thybulle is the new Tayshaun Prince. Go ahead.
It's a very interesting point. I don't even know where to go with that.
Who's Chauncey?
I guess Ben's
not
Chauncey.
Ben.
He's just hitting a 40% from three out of nowhere. It's an interesting point, and I think the identity, the defensive identity exists. But I think the star power. I think the Sixers have star power that probably could have competed in a bunch of different eras of basketball for the Sixers.
Kyle O'Quinn is definitely Jason Maxiell.
Oh my God, J-Mac. There we go.
And then Chucky Atkins was probably held mate. So, wasn't he on that team? Wasn't he the backup point guard, or am I thinking of somebody else? I feel like he was Phillips' backup. I don't remember.
Sam Cassell? No, that was the Bucks. Never mind.
Yeah, Bucks. Him and Michael Redd. And that was the game I watched.
Michael Redd was badass. Michael Redd could play.
Yeah. So my biggest takeaways from this preseason game was 1, the Sixers ball movement is great. 2, the Sixers are ready to win a championship. And 3, I need to get some fucking Hardee's because I'm starving. All I saw was every 30 seconds on this stream here was Hardee's commercials all game long.
I just want to watch El Camino. I haven't seen it yet. So
good man.
What is that?
That's for another pod.
Yeah, I just put a pod on El Camino. All right, let's wrap it up. That is Austin Krell. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at KrellTPL. Check out his Feed to Embiid podcast and with the latest pod with Jessica Town. Super, super awesome stuff. That is Brian Jacobs. Follow him on Twitter at Brian Mike Jacobs. I'm Deibs, I guess.
If you want workout advice, go follow Brian.
Yes.
Do it.
And if you want any shirts with sleeves, don't follow that guy either.
Oh man, I can't even do it. Okay, if I came onto a podcast with sleeves on, I think you guys would be like, okay, is everything all right with you over there?
Brian puts on a t-shirt and begins to sweat profusely because he's not used to having any kind of sleeves at all.
Mid-pod.
Yeah.
All right. Follow all of our awesome Sixers content on thepaytonlines.com as well as at 76ers TPL. Also give Jack Duffy a follow on Twitter because he was covering the Sixers Hornets game all game long and was doing an awesome job. What's up, Jack? So for Austin,
he's really developed very fast. I mean,
yeah,
he joined us 2 months ago, and he's already leading the coverage down in an entire market by himself.
He's leading the coverage for the Charlotte Hornets.
He's the real deal.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he's grinding.
For Austin, for Brian, for myself. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles? Let me get a hell yeah!